Picture this. June 23rd, 1965. Houston, Texas. Summer heat, yeah. But in this one house on Driscoll Street, 1815 Driscoll to be exact, something really chilling went down.
Chilling is right.
Way worse than the weather.
Definitely. We're diving into the Icebox Murders today, right? A case that still has people talking all these years later.
And for good reason, right? I mean, we're talking about Fred and Edwina Rogers, this elderly couple, meeting a really, really brutal end.
It goes way beyond just a regular double homicide, though, doesn't it? It's that whole mystery of their son, Charles, just vanishing into thin air.
Absolutely. It's a case that is over half a century old, ice-cold case, but it still has this grip on people. And I think it's because of those strange circumstances around Charles. So just to set the scene for our listeners, an elderly couple, the Rogers, found murdered in their own home, Montrose neighborhood. And right off the bat, no forced entry, doors locked from the inside. Then they opened the refrigerator, and, well, it's a nightmare, dismembered bodies.
Yeah, Fred had been beaten, probably with a hammer, and Edwina, she was shot. The way they were disposed of. You know, it really says something.
Unsettling, for sure.
That dismemberment, the refrigerator, it speaks to a kind of, I don't know, a control. You know what I mean? Like, whoever did this was really deliberate.
Cold, calculated.
Exactly. It makes you wonder what was going on in that person's mind. And then, like you said, there's Charles, just gone.
So before we get too deep into Charles, let's talk about Fred and Edwina, who they were, what their life was like before all this horror.
Right. So they were an older couple, pretty typical for Montrose back then, and even now. Normal folks, normal setting, you know.
And their son, Charles, he's kind of the main character, even though he's missing.
Right. He was 43 when it happened, geophysicist, Navy vet. Sounds pretty accomplished, right?
Paper, biggie.
But the reality was, well, different. He was a real recluse. Brilliant, yes, but very withdrawn socially.
And here's where it gets weird. This grown man, living with his parents, but they mostly talked through notes, slipped under the door.
Can you imagine? It makes you think about how broken things must have been in that family.
Totally. Like, what does that say about their relationships? I mean, you're under the same roof, but you're basically strangers.
It's like emotional distance taken to the extreme. Maybe this was going on for years, who knows? And could that isolation have led to, you know, resentment, something that maybe finally boiled over? It's a huge part of the puzzle when we're trying to figure out motive.
So how did anyone even find out about this? Why did the police get involved?
Well, like in a lot of these cases, it was worried relatives. Fred and Edwina, they hadn't been heard from in days. Not normal for them. So the family calls the cops, asks for a welfare check.
And when the police got to the house, 1815 Driscoll, you said no forced entry. What did they see when they first got there? Was it obvious something terrible had happened?
At first glance, no. The house was pretty much in order. No signs of a struggle, nothing knocked over. It wasn't like a scene from a movie, all chaotic. Which actually, now that I think about it, maybe makes it even creepier.
Right, because it seems like whoever did this, they had it all under control.
Right. That's what it seems like, at least right after the murders. They weren't panicking.
Which makes the whole refrigerator thing even more shocking. You open the fridge to get a snack or whatever, and it's just horrific.
It's one of those details that sticks with you, isn't it? The bodies, they weren't just tossed in there. They were packed neatly, almost carefully.
Yeah, the sources mentioned that they were partially drained of blood, too.
Which, okay, that detail right there, it's just so methodical, you know, in the middle of this insane violence. What does that tell us about whoever did it?
It's like they wanted to tidy up, even though they just committed this awful crime. It's hard to wrap your head around.
It really is. And it wasn't just the fridge. The whole crime scene was pretty clean. Not a lot of blood anywhere else.
So someone spent time cleaning up.
Right. They were trying to hide what they did, get rid of evidence. It was planned, at least the cleanup was. And obviously that's going to make the cops focus on the one guy who's missing, Charles Rogers.
Charles becomes suspect number one right away. And the police, they launched this huge search, but nothing. No Charles.
It's like he disappeared off the face of the earth. No one saw him, no money trail, no calls, no nothing. He was declared legally dead in 1975, but that doesn't really tell us anything.
The big questions are still there. Did Charles kill his parents? And what happened to him? So, let's get into the theories. The most straightforward one, although still pretty dark, is that Charles killed his parents because of some family fight.
Yeah, it's plausible, right? Especially given how they lived, all that isolation. Maybe there was tension building for years, or maybe Charles was struggling with mental illness, or maybe something just pushed him over the edge and Well, it wouldn't be the first time something like that happened.
It makes sense, especially if they weren't really talking things out. All that anger and resentment building up with no release, and the way Fred and Edwina were killed, that definitely points to rage.
True, but then there's the cleanup, all that careful, almost methodical work. Does that fit with someone in a blind rage? It doesn't quite add up.
Yeah, that's the thing with this case. There are these pieces that seem to contradict each other.
Exactly. Maybe the initial violence was impulsive, like a burst of anger, but then afterwards, he calmed down and tried to cover his tracks. It's disturbing to think about.
It is. Then there are the more out there theories, the ones about spies and government secrets.
Yes, the spy theories. Well, Charles was in the Navy, he was a geophysicist, and he was a loner. So some people think he might have been caught up in something shady, something the government didn't want getting out.
Maybe his parents found something they shouldn't have. Or maybe Charles had to disappear to protect himself.
Those are the ideas, yeah. It's all very cloak and daggers.
It's definitely more exciting than a family argument, that's for sure.
But is there any real evidence that Charles was a spy?
That's the thing. Not really. It's mostly guesswork. I mean, his background fits the spy image, but there's nothing concrete linking him to any specific secret missions or anything like that. It's mostly people connecting dots that might not even be there. But whether Charles was a spy or not, the Icebox Murders have definitely left their mark on Houston.
Oh, absolutely. After over 50 years, it's still one of the city's most famous unsolved cases. It's like a ghost story that everyone knows.
And it keeps getting retold, too, in books and documentaries and online.
People can't resist a good mystery, can they? And this one has everything. A strange family, a brutal crime, a vanishing act. It's like something out of a movie, but it really happened.
And the house itself is gone now. Demolished. I wonder if that makes the mystery even creepier, you know?
I think it does. The house was like this tangible link to the past, to what happened. Now it's gone, and all we have are the stories.
So that's where we end up.
Yeah.
Fred and Edwina Rogers dead. Their son Charles vanished. A bloody crime scene that was carefully cleaned up. It's a case full of contradictions.
We have the facts, but the facts don't make sense. It's like a puzzle with missing pieces.
And they're probably never going to be found.
Yeah.
The Icebox Murders remind us that some things just stay mysteries.
Yeah. There's no neat ending, no resolution, just this unsettling feeling that we'll never know the whole truth.
And that brings me to my final question for everyone listening. You've heard the details of this case. The weird family life, the horrible murders, the disappearing son, the meticulous cleanup. What sticks with you the most? What part of this mystery keeps you up at night?
What's the one detail you just can't shake?
What's the one question you wish you had the answer to?